figure out what are the key components needed to create a distributed incubator, right? And that's the journey that still continues. I think we've seen more than 1,100 startups apply for Builders Tribe in last 11 months or so. And we have worked with 12 startups as of now, and we are partnered with over 60 VCs. We have over 110 angel investors as a part of Builders Tribe.
Digital assets market is very dynamic and fast-paced and has had a massive capital influx even after a large slump in global markets. The crypto markets amassed approximately $30 billion in the first 2 quarters of this year from VCs across the board. A number of venture funds closed huge investments, which makes us foresee the growing future potential in the Web3 space. Growing Web3 projects calls for building stronger and robust firms which stand the future test of time, and hence the need for incubators to advise, help strategize, and provide innovators with the expertise and network they need to convert their ideas into business models. Builders Tribe is an Indian Web3 incubator with a tribe of experts who work closely with Web3 startups to advise them on fundraising, tokenomics, community, and many more aspects. This tribe includes prominent founders, advisors, mentors, investors in the Web3 space. To further talk about this, today we have Pareen with us. He's the co-founder of Buidlers Tribe. Pareen has been on his entrepreneurial journey in tech and crypto and has had a rich experience in scaling businesses. Welcome to CuratedX, Pareen. It's a pleasure to have you with us today and really look forward to an enriching conversation.
Thank you for having me here, and good to talk to you about these things.
Lovely. So let's get things started. I'd first like to start by understanding your journey in the crypto world. What led you to venture into this space and finding your entrepreneurial way in Web3?
So mostly people stumble upon Web3 by chance. And that happened to me as well, as many of my friends were investing in this new thing called Bitcoin in 2017. And people went pretty crazy about it during the bull run, which happens all the time. And when I saw this happening, of course, initial reaction was, let me invest a little bit. When I invested, I saw the cycles and I realized that this is something crazy, absolutely very different from anything that we've ever seen. And also one thing that I noticed was that a lot of people who had very liberal, freedom-oriented ideas started getting into this. And I realized that there is something brewing here. And when I delved deeper into this, read Bitcoin white paper and learned about Ethereum and a few other projects that were out there, I realized that this is actually solving a ton of problems that Web2 has created. So Web2 today, the way I look at it, has created problems. Just take, for example, Ola or Uber, right? Drivers are not happy. Definitely, they were getting paid much higher. Now the pay barely covers whatever costs they have and the EMI of the car and everything. As users, we don't find the cabs, or we have insane surge pricing, or we have some issues that are not resolved. This entire phenomena is where a Web2 company comes in and captures such a large market share that it kills all the competition, right? Or it subsidizes with free services for maybe even decades, for that matter. And then when the customer has no choice, user has no choice, they go ahead and increase the pricing, making everyone else unhappy. The primary reason why this was happening is because we did not have enough transparency, we did not have enough ownership, and we did not have enough governance control over all of these large products that we were using out there. And it was absolutely a no-brainer that we need blockchain to solve this. And these three things are what blockchain solves for, which is transparency, ownership, governance, right? And that's actually the core of everything that we do in Web3 today.
Absolutely. And it is very true, right? Where we see intermediaries coming into play and bringing together the two counterparties, we essentially do not need this when we have blockchain in place. And you very rightly said the three things that blockchain solves for does solve for a lot of things that Web2 has created a loophole for us, which we unintentionally just use it without even realizing the trouble that we're falling into. Very true. So just taking a step ahead from that, and if you talk about Builders Tribe and essentially building the tribe of industry experts and onboarding the projects, if you can walk us through the business and how has the journey been so far?
So we started Builders Tribe because me and my co-founder Raghu, both of us were investing in personal capacity. And while we were investing in startups, we saw that the 0 to 1 journey is very, very hard for these founders. We realized that there are no playbooks. There are incubators, of course, uh, but the typical content cohort demo day, which is a Y Combinator model, doesn't really work for good founders in Web3 because the industry is changing. You can't have them wait for 3 months to raise their funds. Good founders don't want to take generic GAN. They want solutions to their actual problems, which happens only one-on-one. It cannot happen in a group kind of a setting, right? So these were certain things that we observed, and we realized that there is a strong need. And we started on this journey of visualizing what a Web3 distributed incubator looks like. So we don't call ourselves decentralized. Hardly anything is on blockchain at this stage. But what we are trying to do is figure out what are the key components needed to create a distributed incubator, right? And that's the journey that still continues. I think we've seen more than 1,100 startups apply for Builders Tribe in last 11 months or so. And we have worked with 12 startups as of now, and we are partnered with over 60 VCs. We have over 110 angel investors as a part of Builders Tribe. But all of this is an attempt. We, frankly speaking, we don't know what Builders Tribe is going to look like a couple of years from now. But this has been a journey, and we've discovered some good key insights. But yeah, a lot of work still to be done there.
But that's still commendable, right? I mean, involving so many people and so many stakeholders across the spectrum does call for a lot of effort and networking. So I'll just like to take it up from there. So considering the business itself that you're in, it definitely seems that you'd be getting tons of projects, like you mentioned, 1,100 odd projects that have come to Builders Tribe, and then they get evaluated to be onboarded for incubation and get that required guidance. So what does this process look like, and is there a structured approach to skim through these projects?
Right. So we don't have a cohort, as I mentioned, right? So anyone can apply at any point in time. It's a rolling basis incubator. What we have right now is a website called build.so, which is buidl.so, right? So build.so, you just go there and create a profile. It is a very angel list kind of a profile. As a founder, what we want to see is whether you can persevere and work, show up when things get hard or not, right? So what we are doing here is measuring the proof of progress for a startup, because at an early stage, a VC or an angel investor finds it incredibly hard to take a bet. Most of them go in rejects. Some of the good founders don't get funding because it just doesn't seem that great on a PowerPoint presentation, right? So what we are doing here is giving founders a chance to come and keep posting their weekly progress. So on Build.so, once you register, you create your profile, you keep posting weekly progress here. As you post weekly progress, you will start getting higher and higher on an investor dashboard. So there is a dashboard that we've given to all our investors, and they keep monitoring which startup is doing what, right? And that's a way for them to discover new startups here. Apart from that, as there is more progress, we start giving out grants, we start giving out chain support, we start giving out mentoring sessions. So all of this is layered. But the key criteria for getting all of this incubation benefits is to keep posting weekly progress. And that's something that we've come about understanding that this is the key. We analyzed the data of 1,100 startups that went through our funnel, and some of them did not look that great on paper at that point in time. Some of them did look great but did not do well, and there is really no pattern to it. The only correlation that we could find here is the founders who showed up week on week on our calls did stuff that our analysts told them to do and showed their progress. They were the ones who actually ended up raising most amount of money. Founders who said, yeah, maybe unless my funding happens, I will not do growth. I will not start a Twitter channel. I will not create a community. I will wait for this. I will not do this. That progress stopped somewhere. And that actually killed their whole project or their company out there. So this proof of progress on a weekly basis has become a very, very core part of our thesis and our mindsets. And the more VCs that we talk to, the more angel investors that we talk to, they are giving two thumbs up for this, saying, hey, this is what we actually needed. Think of Buildso as your PowerPoint as a founder is a picture, is a photograph of where you are today. But Buildso is like a movie of your startup, where you were, what you have done, and where you are today. This gives an investor some very key insights into what the journey has been, whether to trust the founder or not, whether they are execution focused or not, right? And that can they take the market pressure? Can they take the pressure that comes with running a crypto business, which would be some weeks, a lot of founders say, but this week I don't have anything to update. Okay, no problem. Go ahead and write. I don't have much. I just talked to 5 customers today. I created a Twitter account today. It doesn't matter what you are writing. It means that you have the courage to really, really show up even during the bad times. And that actually what makes a great founder separate from maybe an average person who tries to start a business, right?
Certainly. And I think that that is the case in such volatile markets. Consistency is the key in any business for that matter. And when you start, I also really like this concept, like you mentioned, of proof of progress. When you start penning down things, okay, what did I do in the last week, or what do I intend to do now in order to progress, in order to take that step forward, is then it's then that you realize, okay, this is where I stand and this is where I want to go. And it also gives a plain, clear picture to the investors, to the VCs, as to where the project stands. And like we say, right, we need to trust in Web3. We really need to trust the founders and as well as the technology. And it is these people who are going to build bigger businesses. So this is what clearly, I think, in your business model very clearly comes out of the picture as well, and really helps both the parties. So great job on that. And just taking again another step forward from there, talking about maybe networking and relationship building, because I understand this business will involve a lot of networking and relationship building through the spectrum, be it getting the advisors across various Web3 domains, or a strong VC network, or even the projects to be incubated. So what kind of challenges, Pareen, do you face in this business?
I think, see, for one thing is important here, that we keep talking about trustlessness, right? Ideally, blockchain is supposed to make everything trustless. Ironically, the whole industry operates on trust only, right? You get funded when there is some trust built. You get community when community trusts a founder. You get money when people really have seen what you can do, or someone vouches, or someone gives a reference for a founder. This means the problem is you don't go and network like you do in every other industry. You don't go to conference and meet 200 people and think deals will happen. No. But the good part is that you meet 5 people who align with your values, who align with your vision, and they will go to the ends of earth to help you out. What you got to do is find those first believers, people who really think that, okay, this founder is going to do something great, right? Your play may change, your product may change, everything may change, but is someone willing to take a bet on this founder? Then this goes a long way. There is nothing, I don't think there's a large role for like passive networking like people do in other industries. What I look at is going to a conference and building relationships, but by finding these very key people who align with my values, who align with my vision. And that is actually all that I need. I don't need 200 people to do stuff. I just need 5 good people that I can really work with.
Absolutely. And it's going to be this small community who will build that trust and who will keep that trust even in the markets when you're going haywire or when things are not working. But because they trust the product, they trust the service that you're providing, they trust you as a founder, that takes you a long way. And that is definitely needed in helping you succeed in the long term as well. So I
Definitely.
really vouch with that too. So another thing that I noticed, Pareen, while going through the great work that is being done by the team, I came across Belief DAO, which is to give convertible grants to founders in 2022. So if you can run us, what is it about and what do you wish to achieve with this DAO?
So Believe DAO is a fast grants program that's been given to us by Polygon. Essentially, what we are looking at is taking a bet on founders before anyone else is willing to put money. There are founders uh, who are very early in the journey for raising money, and they don't want to figure out what valuation, what are the terms, how to approach a VC. Many of them don't even have a deck. Doesn't matter. What we are looking at this very early stages is the founder capable enough of building something? Do they have that passion for whatever they are building? If these two things are there, and they've shown us some progress for a few weeks, we would go ahead and give them a grant anywhere between $2,000 to $25,000. This grant essentially is a convertible grant. When a founder takes this, they can go ahead and run with it. If the project fails, it's a grant. They don't have to return anything. If their project succeeds, they go ahead and give equal amount of tokens back to the DAO. This is how we can make it sustainable, and we can keep this going.
Very interesting. And I think these are different small kinds of incentives that really are luring for a lot of projects as well. And once they succeed, there is a mutual benefit that the DAO also derives out of it, which is again great. So talking a little bit about the generic stuff which is happening in the Web3 space. So with the extensive scope of businesses, you would have seen projects across the Web3 stack. So which are some of the use cases or areas in the digital asset space where you see significant growth potential in the next few years?
This is a very hard question, but I think from the perspective of markets, it's very hard to say what's going to take off immediately next. I can't predict that. No one can predict that. But I think definitely there are some trends that I'm excited about. We have to watch what happens later. But I think DAOs will take off in a massive way. My take is DAOs, what they lack is a platform right now. Discord doesn't work. I think every DAO will have a customized, specialized platform product that will be at the heart of things. And then, of course, trust is decentralized through a blockchain, but it needs some kind of a coordination tool. So DAOs probably are ripe for popping up. I think that is going to happen pretty soon. Of course, when it comes to DeFi, a lot of people are solving the identity and credit score problem. One of these things works, and we are in with under collateralized loan, right? It's probably just a inflection point that's needed to solve this particular problem, and then we would be very capable. I think most protocols would start giving under collateralized loans, and that will be a massive step that real people can get under collateralized loan. Right now, it's mostly a bubble when it comes to lending.
Absolutely.
Third thing that of course is creator economy. A lot of people are trying to figure this out. There are regulatory challenges. Some of them are solvable, some of them are not solvable. But I think that's these are the three things that we have to watch out for. Not to say that any of these things will pop in the near future. We don't know when that will happen.
Definitely. And I think these are very key things that you spoke of. And definitely the space and in the industry is still in a nascent stage. We're still growing, still developing. A lot of projects are trying different iterations of things to come up with that mark. And definitely with the markets, things will take time. But we're also definitely waiting where we get to that point that, yes, now we're able to stand the test of time and we're strong enough in all these different spaces as well. So we'll have to wait to see how that pans out. Talking about a little bit in terms of geographies now. So what is your view on the Web3 ecosystem evolving in India? And as compared to that, how do you see Dubai coming up as one of the hubs of digital assets?
So I don't think geography matters too much, frankly speaking, in Web3. Just like our team is remote, right? Most projects are operating with hundreds of people completely remotely. This brings in cultural diversity as well. Also, users can be anywhere. Many of the founders, we tell them, hey, I understand that you're building out of India, but why is your target market India? This is not Web2 anymore, that you are a Flipkart, you have to sell in India. Go ahead and acquire users across the world. And this is a challenge that everyone should think about, that these boundaries are getting blurred. We don't know, apart from physical proximity, if there is any real role for geography at this stage. Of course, legal, regulatory frameworks and jurisdictions occur, but that's mostly personal. Uh, for businesses, it doesn't matter where they are registered, what they do. Essentially, from a builder's perspective, I would say absolutely forget about where you are living. Just start figuring out where your community lives, which means your users. If your community lives on Discord, then that's your geography. If your community lives on some Telegram group, that's your geography. Target that. Where these people are really doesn't matter.
Absolutely. I think that that's a very different and a nice perspective that you bring to the table. But what if we consider more in terms of regulations, like we see maybe the taxation aspect is probably hampering a little bit of growth of the digital asset space in India, or as compared to Dubai, which is coming up with its metaverse strategy and different things, trying to promote more things. So how do you see, or how do you compare these two regions on that front?
Trading is a completely different world. When we say digital assets, it's completely trading. I don't know. I don't trade. I'm not a trader as well. I'm not a very good trader. I lose money. Most people lose money trading. I would say highly encourage people to look at Web3 uh, as a technology instead of a means to make life-changing money, because that's not going to happen. Frankly, hardly anyone has made any life-changing money out of this apart from scammers. You don't want to be a scammer. So the only choice that is really practically left is to work in the industry, is to work hard, either get a job, either figure out how to help someone, or build something of your own. If you are a techie, non-techie, it really doesn't matter. There are so many jobs here. uh, Work for a DAO, do some bounties, intern at some place. This is the way to look at Web3. You don't want to, just because there are some coins trading, you don't want to get into that trap. Most people are not full-time traders. If you are a full-time trader, you know who you are. And that's a different segment altogether. As a part-time investor or trader, I don't want to compete with full-time traders. I will end up losing. Trading is a zero-sum game. Building is not. Building or working is creating value. That's a very positive sum game, and playing that should attract more people. But those 100x's and 50x's end up making so much noise. So I don't think it really matters what trading is going through right now.
Definitely. So before we wrap up, I have one important question. Like you did mention about building and probably starting with the DAO, there are different aspects, but there's still a larger chunk. Though we've seen over time that a number of people have transitioned from Web2 to Web3, but there's still that segment which is holding back and a little bit skeptical in joining this highly volatile space. So what would be some of your suggestions or piece of advice to people wanting to explore a career in the Web3 world?
uh, I would say two things. First is embrace uncertainty. It's going to be extremely uncertain uh, in coming years. It is generally been very uncertain right now. When we want to understand how to get into Web3, what I would say is go ahead and start doing some freelance work for some project that you really like. Okay. Uh, don't try to make money at the first instant. You will hear about people getting $10,000 grants, and you will hear about people doing some stupid scammy stuff and making some money. This is going to burn your reputation like nothing else. So don't burn your reputation. Don't trade your reputation for money. That's the worst trade that you can ever make. But what you could do is actually go ahead and figure out what project you really believe in. Uh, One of the ways to do that I've discovered is by figuring out which large centralized monolithic entity you really hate. If you hate something, go ahead and figure out who is decentralizing this. If you had personal problems with, let's say, an insurance company, figure out who's decentralizing insurtech, right? This is the first step to getting started. If you be a part of one of these projects as an employee, as an intern, as a bounty hunter, whatever you are contributing to, try and create value. Try and create value. Try and learn the culture of how this works. Uh, that is when you will start seeing real opportunities. Going on a job board and applying is not going to be very helpful, frankly speaking, because what is the proof of work if you're new to the industry?
Right.
Without proof of work, it's very hard to get any kind of and saying I worked for XYZ large software or finance company for 10 years is not going to work. Outside reputation doesn't translate into Web3 reputation. So you got to build that from scratch. Start as a fresher or an intern, maybe, but start part time, then see how you feel like. If you are not meant for Web3, you can't take too much uncertainty. You will know that. If you can, you will start enjoying that. And once you start enjoying that, that is a time when you have enough connects to go and ask for a full-time role to do something significant. And that could be in various kinds of companies in Web3 itself.
Absolutely. I think that that's very useful piece of advice for anybody who wants to get started. And by different way, like you mentioned, right? Something in Web 2 that you really don't like and you find a solution in Web 3, that is when you're really optimistic about something, you really believe with the vision, and that is something that you have to work on and you do find your way out there. So that's, I think, a really interesting way to get started and explore what's happening in this space. On that note, Pareen, I would like to thank you for joining me today and sharing some very key insights on the digital assets industry and its future. Builders Tribe is making the space stronger and robust by adding value to the projects and aiding their growth and long-term success. We wish you all the best growing this to greater heights. Thank you once again for being part of CuratedX and this insightful conversation.
Thank you, Chaudhary, for having me here. It was amazing, great questions, and I hope this helps some people figure out their path in Web3.